Carly. I live for Murlo. We're back with our Rambouillet fleece. This will be the next section that we're going to be working on, which will be how to get it from the lock formation to a prepped fiber for spinning. Now you'll recall when we were doing the scouring that I talked about a scouring product and then a newer one that's out. Now this particular lock was washed with a older scouring product, and it said that you didn't really need to use really hot water to remove the lanolin, but I can feel it, and I know darn well that had I wanted to dye this, that the dye would not get into the center of that lock, and I would probably have dark tips and sections inside that were still white. The newer product that took less water last time, I can feel the difference. Like, there's a little bit in there, but I don't mind spinning with a bit. I just don't want my fleeces to ever feel like they're gummy. You'll recall when we were washing, we did it in the bags, and I wanted to keep the lock formation. So did that actually happen? Because you saw me kind of squishing these around and squeezing them and flopping them around, but when it comes out of the bag, you can still see that those locks are there to pull off. Even when we put some through a dye solution, because again, it was getting moved around and stuff, were the lock formations going to hold up? And it kind of comes out of the bag as a big old piece here, but again, we can see where the locks are to pull off. So we've got here the tips, and so we know that the butt end's at the other end, and we can see that those locks are there. So we would be able to flick card those, which will be the next process that we will be doing. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back in a few minutes. So now that our fleece is completely dry, we're going to prep it. So we see that through the washing process, we kept that lock structure. So we're just going to pull one apart. And at this stage, I'm going to use a flick carder. So you can buy these online. They're very economical. I think I paid $13, $14 for this one. If you're new and don't know whether you want to lay out a lot of money for the craft, you can use a slicker brush for dogs. It will work with the same principle in mind. These ones will just last you longer because they're actually designed for it. You can tell by the tip. The tip is a little darker. So we've got a little bit of yellowing there. So that's the tip end, and then the other end would be the butt end. We're just gonna pull a piece off. So I like to tease open the butt end. Seems to stick together after washing. So I'm just going to tease that open a bit. And then I give a little bit of a twist and hold it, and you're going to use, it's called a flick carder because you do use a bit of a flick technique to it. So you can see that you're coming down. Turn it over. And we can see that we've got that nice fan shape. So it's opened up the fiber quite nicely, and it helps eliminate the vegetable matter. So then giving it a twist and holding to the other end will open up the tips. If you've got some weak tips, or if you've got, maybe when you washed it, some of the second cuts didn't come out. So then you can open it right up. Now, sometimes you'll get a little piece. So you can see that little piece there. Depending on how fine you're spinning, that could create a bump in your spinning, which you might not want. So you can just pick that out. If you're spinning, I would say probably sport weight or better, you probably wouldn't even notice it. So then once I have these, you can spin right from this with your drop spindle or on your spinning wheel. Some people do just spin from the lock that way. I typically run it through the carder afterwards just because for storage purposes. I'm not going to get this all spun soon. It could be months before I get to the bottom of the bag, and I want to store it in a nice way. I tend not to store it this way. I don't have mice in the house, and I'd like to keep it that way, but I don't know, when you see that you've still got some vegetable matter in there, this would be like a mouse's bed and breakfast, and I don't want that in my house. So that's why I typically go from this, and then we will do another video on putting it through the drum carder and how I store it. But for now, this is Leila from Murlo. Thank you for watching.